So let's talk about India in 2026. Because something really interesting is happening. We're seeing ancient wisdom become a kind of modern superpower. We're going to dive into how the nation is using its oldest philosophies not as museum pieces, but as a very real, very dynamic playbook for the 21st century. And that really makes you wonder, right? In an age of AI and hyperglobalization, can these ancient values actually win the future? What we're seeing is this fundamental shift away from just preserving culture to actively projecting it. It's a whole new strategy for the global stage. Exactly. This is no longer a defensive game. In 2026, India is moving way beyond just preservation. It's rolling out a proactive new global playbook. And in doing so, it's positioning itself as a unique bridge-building civilization in a world that feels more fragmented than ever. All right, so here's the game plan for today. We're going to break down how these values are being applied in 4 key areas: diplomacy, the corporate world, the social and digital spheres, and then we'll wrap up with what it all means for the future professional. First up, the diplomatic play. This is where we see timeless philosophy getting transformed into some very modern foreign policy. At the absolute heart of this strategy is a concept called vasudhaivakutumbakam. Now, this is an ancient Vedic idea that basically translates to the world is one family. And the key thing to get is that in 2026, this isn't just some poetic ideal anymore. It's being treated as a strategic imperative. And here is exactly where that philosophy becomes policy. You see, that one family concept is the driving force behind championing the global south, taking a leading role in forums like the G20 and BRICS, and really pushing for global reforms in everything from climate finance to digital sovereignty, which is basically the right for a country to control its own data. This really captures the massive shift in thinking that India is championing on the world stage. We're talking about a move away from the old model of profit-centric globalization to a new, more human-centric model. The focus now is all about collective well-being and sustainability, which you can see in the LIFE movement, which stands for Lifestyle for Environment. And it doesn't stop there. Another core value being put into action is seva, which is the principle of selfless service. Now, this isn't just about individual acts of charity. This is now a formal, institutionalized part of India's foreign policy, specifically designed to build goodwill and trust across the globe. And look, this is a value that's being demonstrated, not just talked about. Through huge initiatives like Vaccine Maitri, which provided medical aid worldwide, and Operation Dost for disaster relief, India has really cemented its reputation as a reliable first responder and a genuinely responsible global player. Okay, so that's diplomacy, but this value-driven approach extends way beyond that. Now, let's jump into the corporate world and see how it's literally reshaping boardrooms and business ethics. So let me introduce you to Corporate Dharma. Seriously, think of it as corporate social responsibility on steroids. It's this powerful idea that a company's duty isn't just to its shareholders, but to the entire ecosystem, its employees, the community, and the environment. And you see it in action when companies create programs that don't just train for skills, but also support the community, because they see employee well-being as a key part of profit. Alongside Dharma, you've got karma yoga, or what's called detached engagement. It's this incredible concept of striving for absolute excellence in your work, but without being paralyzed by the fear of the outcome. It's all about focusing on the process, on the work itself, not just the prize at the end. And believe it or not, in the super high-pressure tech hubs of Bengaluru and Hyderabad, karma yoga is actually being taught in leadership courses. Why? Because it's seen as a vital tool to build mental resilience and fight burnout. It's an ancient solution to a very, very modern problem. This whole mindset of practical, focused action leads us straight to jugaad, or frugal innovation. Now, what started as a local workaround, that classic mindset of doing more with less, has now become a celebrated global business strategy. It's positioning Indian startups as world leaders in affordable and sustainable tech. All right, these values are also shaping society and the digital world in fascinating ways, creating what you might call a hybrid identity. Let's take a closer look at that. This table really captures the delicate balancing act of modern Indian society. Traditional values like collectivism and respect for elders aren't just disappearing, they're adapting. The old joint family is now a transnational digital network, and strict hierarchical authority is slowly evolving into a more collaborative style of mentorship. And that point about shifting gender roles? Well, that's not just a feeling, it's backed by hard data. In early 2026, female labor force participation hit a record 35.3%. That's a huge jump from previous years, and it's a crystal clear sign of some pretty profound social change. India's soft power is no longer just about Bollywood and yoga. It's increasingly about technology. The India stack, with its amazing digital public infrastructure like Aadhaar and UPI, is now being exported around the world as a proven model for digital inclusion. And this whole technological influence is getting a massive boost from the Indian diaspora. We're talking over 35 million people living abroad. They act as this living bridge, blending Indian values with global standards and becoming incredibly powerful cultural and economic ambassadors. So, after looking at diplomacy, business, and society, what does this all boil down to? What does it actually mean for the modern professional? Well, it's leading to the rise of what we're calling the Glocal professional. This is the new ideal, someone who is totally fluent in global markets and Western technology, but remains firmly anchored and guided by these deep-rooted Indian ethical frameworks. It's a true synthesis of both worlds. But, and this is a really important point, this isn't some easy, straightforward success story. The absolute core challenge for India in 2026 is figuring out how to embrace all this global integration without falling victim to cultural erosion. It's a tightrope walk. And that leaves us with one final and, I think, pretty provocative thought. We've seen how India has turned its ancient culture into a powerful modern strategy. So the question for the future is this: when your culture becomes your playbook, what's the next move on the global chessboard?